Well, good morning, everybody, internet students. Hope everybody's having a great time. Just made a fresh pot of coffee here, and I thought I would get into another video. This is kind of like making a movie, and I hope that these are very helpful videos for you. And remember to take notes through these videos. If you remember way back in the first video, I talked about that. I don't really give you all the ins and outs on how to do things like you would see from a professional video from a construction company. For instance, if we were going to, wire up a switch, I'm not really demonstrating, where to place all the wires on the screws and the wire nuts and having little pictorial diagrams. This is just to whet your appetite, these 30 videos, and to help you understand that you can do this. You can do this project. You can do your DIY, do it yourself projects yourself. And hopefully that this will give you, a spark and a dream to go ahead and complete more than you thought that you could complete. And that's my goal, is to empower people to become, you know, more than what they thought that they could by watching these videos. So again, the best way to watch these videos is to listen to me, because I've written everything out, typed it out, reviewed it, rewrote things, and then also, I have all of the information in here. One of the things about the website sometimes that you see from Billy Bob's barbecue website is he just talks off the cuff, and sometimes he repeats things, he leaves things out. These scripts that I'm reading from are very well thought out and contain a lot of information. So please take notes as you go. And the videos may not always be the most detailed graphic, but they are my videos and they are what I recorded during my sessions in building my off-grid retreat. So welcome to All Things Propane. Tools and supplies: hammer, cordless screw gun, tool belt with ample supplies, level, drill bits, screwdriver bit set. You need a backhoe to dig out for your propane tank, aluminum duct tape, tin snips, furnace duct material, metallic screws, and a step ladder. The internet student should understand by the end of this lesson how to meet with a vendor to spec out internal gas lines, select proper propane tank, and know the installation process of such, and the output feeds along with the return air vent feeds for a modern day furnace sized for your home. Assignment: again, you would create a document, students, and please write up your own plans for your own off-grid retreat. Step one, planning the milestone. So now is a good time to make that phone call to your local propane distribution center. Ask the needful questions like, what are the dimensions of the hole to dig for your underground propane tank? Or if you have an above ground propane tank, you're going to have to understand the slab of concrete and where to place the anchor bolts and how to bolt down the tank itself. Um, it's also a good idea to do your calculations of how many gallon propane tank that you're going to need for your off-grid retreat. If you got a family of 10, you might, uh, a minimum of 1,000 gallons would be the very minimum. If it's just you by yourself or you and your wife, you can probably get away with 500-gallon tank or even smaller. Please do not spare any money in this process, because a smaller tank would mean much more refilling and more hassle throughout um, your life cycle of your off-grid retreat and living at your homestead. Whereas a larger tank would allow you to be self-sufficient much more longer periods of time without people coming onto your property. So that's the key right there, is OPSEC. Remember, operational security. You want to make sure you got the least amount of people coming to your property. Not that you're trying to hide anything, you just want your privacy. It's also a good idea, um, at this juncture, to order your backhoe. The rental company has to put you on the schedule, and you probably won't have a same day return. If once you make a phone call, it may take a week or two. But you also have to dig the hole to the proper dimensions. And then you also want to phone the plumber and have him come out and install your gas lines. So there's a lot of items here to schedule and monitor during this milestone. Step 2, installing the propane gas lines. Now this portion will be the easiest for you, and the reason is because you're not certified as a plumber like I'm not, and I did not touch the gas lines. So full disclaimer, I did not do this section myself. I actually used a certified plumber and made sure I didn't want to mess up the gas lines and having leaks in the house and having propane fill up in the basement or the home. Um, so just full disclaimer here, I did not do this step of installing gas lines. I was smart and allowed a certified plumber to do this for me. Step 3, hot water tank installation. Now that you had your gas lines installed by a certified plumber, you've probably installed your water tank at the same day. Go ahead and ask the plumber to help you carry it down the stairs to your basement crawl space and move it into place. Remove the packaging. Tip: if you have a wood burning stove like I do, it's good to keep all of your cardboard boxes off to the side, and at a later date, you will also have your scrap wood in a pile outside and you can cut it up into cardboard pieces to start fires. Uh, you will take out your blowtorch and your solder and your flux. You're now going to have to solder a 3/4 inch copper tube about 4 feet long into the 3/4 inch threaded coupling of your hot water tank. This actually is your relief valve. If there's ever a problem with the hot water tank building pressure, it will allow hot water to spew out through this. If you don't put this copper tubing on and face it towards the ground, it'll blow out the side of the hot water tank and could go all over the place. So it's just kind of a safety precaution. At the same time, you can hook up your venting system for your hot water tank. This will consist of having already purchased the materials from the home and garden store. It is a double-walled certified hot water tank venting system, which is 3 inches in diameter. It is best to use elbows such as 45-degree and 90-degree angles to give you some extra leeway at the bottom in case a future water heater is going to be replaced, and it may be taller or smaller depending on the technology of the day. Well, now that your hot water tank is installed and your gas lines are installed and the plumber has pressurized all the gas lines up to 20 psi, it should now be able to hold pressure for about 20 minutes in all your gas lines. Your plumber will know how to do this. And if it does hold that pressure for 20 minutes in all your home's gas lines, then wave goodbye to your plumber because he's done. Step 4, installing the propane tank underground. Begin digging your hole to the dimensions of your underground propane tank. If you have an above ground propane tank, you will skip this step and build a concrete platform instead. So for a 1,000-gallon propane tank, the hole to dig was 16 feet long by 4 feet wide by 6 feet deep. Remember to dig an extra 2 feet around all sides when digging, but keep the same depth. You will need this space to walk around. By now, the boys should be rolling onto your property driving 2 separate trucks. One truck will contain the propane in which to fill your tank. The second truck will contain a crane and your underground propane tank. Motion the truck driver towards the hole and allow them to get set up. At this point, you can stand back and watch the process. You don't need to be standing in the hole or working out hand signals for the crane operator because they will automatically know what to do. When the tank is installed and level, they will fill it up with propane to 80% capacity. They even install a pressure gauge outside the home connecting to a nipple on the main feed, which was a 3/4 inch black steel pipe throughout the basement. They pressure tested the home and even spray soapy water onto the connections to ensure all is well. If you see soapy bubbles, then you have leaks in the propane lines. Wave goodbye to the boys driving off the trucks off your property, and you can begin to backfill in over your underground tank. And be sure to use the propane grade and slope for water runoff. Refer back to the footer lessons for more information on water runoff. Step 5, furnace duct. Now, I did not install a furnace to this day. However, I installed furnace ducts in the walls in case in the future I wanted to use a furnace instead of wood burning stove, and also chopping firewood every year, which right now is a lot of fun. But I'm thinking maybe if I'm 80 years old, I might not want to be putting all that effort in. And if you have to purchase firewood, students, it can get quite expensive. So what you want to do is have a backup plan. Now they do have, other than a furnace as a backup plan, you can also get these coils that you can put into the floor, and it will put hot, antifreeze type chemicals through the coils from a boiler in the basement. Um, and it it is something that you'd have to design out and spec out uh, for your entire home. Each room would have a separate feed from the boiler and a separate switch to turn on and off, but that would also heat your home, and it's called radiant heat through the floor. So installing the furnace duct, this step, um, if you have another backup plan, by all means go for it. Or if you don't have a backup plan, you just want to use a wood burning stove, you would skip this step. Um, but um, so, but I did want to state about the wood burning stove that it does keep the entire home extremely warm, and sometimes it will blow you outside the house during the winter below 0 months because it gets so hot inside. You have to open up doors and windows sometimes, but it doesn't have the capabilities to get to the far rooms and the far corners of the rooms. So sometimes you might have some severe temperature differences in your off-grid retreat with wood burning stoves, whereas with a furnace you'd have a more even um, temperature, climate controlled environment inside your house. But again, you moved from the city to get away from all that stuff. So you want to be roughing it a little bit at least. Um, so anyhow, I went ahead and installed furnace ducts for a future process of installing a furnace if I wanted, and a returned air. It's really a simple process. The Home and Garden store will sell you 3-inch diameter furnace ducts. You simply snap them together, and they should come in like a cylinder shape. Insert them into the walls, and then you push the male end into the female end until you have a tight, snug fit. You, and you can't go any further in pushing it. You will use a 1/4-inch metallic biting screw. Use 3 screws around every male and female connection to make sure that it is a snug fit. Then use aluminum duct tape and tape over the connection to ensure that you have non-leaking joint. You will also need to cut the tile in your floor in order to put the registers in to the floor. Since your interior walls are not completed yet, leave a vent for both return air and heated air next to the wall where they will be placed in the future. So in other words, the actual finished vent plate after you finish the wall, you will need to screw that in. You know how when you walk into a home you can see the vents in the wall? That's what I'm talking about. All right, that's it. This concludes your lesson on installing gas lines, installing propane tank, and installing a water heater, and also installing your furnace ducts. Be sure to click the thumbs up button below to like the video, and subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button next to it. But help us out, students, and give us a $5 or $10 tax deductible donation at www.university1310.org. And remember that all of this stuff is currently free, and we plan to make it free. So please help us out. Wishing your project well, and Godspeed.